On December 17, Robert Walton was a man with the ambition and courage to embark on what he called a great adventure. In a letter to his sister, Mr. Seville, he recounted the excitement of a journey he had long dreamed of taking to the North Pole, a place where no one had ever set foot. For him, the North Pole was not just a land of ice and snow, but a place of beauty and peaceful seas. The cold wind from the north that swept across his face stirred hope in his heart. He was filled with curiosity, imagining what wonders might await him there. From London, he traveled north to 𝚑𝚤𝚂𝚃. Although the cold weather hit with ice and snow, Walton was happy with the start of his journey, with his captain and a good crew. However, he felt lonely and wanted someone to talk with and share his hopes and fears on his journey. July 7, 17. Walton is already far north. The ice floes and the wind from the south did not bother the man. He still showed his enthusiasm and determination that he would succeed with some great risk for himself. Something strange happened. At around 2 p.m., Walton and his crew saw a dog on the ice with a large person, and it slowly disappeared from their sight. The next day, they rescued a man alone on the ice, a European, weak and near death. This mysterious man, with a shadow of sorrow on his face, insisted on knowing Walton's destination before agreeing to board the ship. As his health improves, the stranger speaks little, but his words hint at the great tragedy. He speaks of pursuing someone who ran away from him, someone he must find at all costs. Walton is fascinated and touched by the man's sadness, and regards him as a friend whom he admires. August 13 and 17, Walton tells the man about his dream of going to the North Pole. The man's reaction was one of pain. "Do you feel the same madness I do?" he asked in a voice full of despair. He promised to tell Walton his story, a story that would reveal the root of his sadness and warn him of the dangers of boundless ambitions. My name is Victor Frankenstein. I was born in Geneva, Switzerland, into a family known for honor and compassion. My parents loved each other deeply, and their kindness shaped in my life in ways I could never have imagined. My father's kindness was most evident when an old friend fell into poverty. He refused to abandon his friend. When the man died, leaving his daughter alone in the world, my father took care of her. 2 years later, they got married and she became my mother. While in Italy, my mother met a little girl named Elizabeth, an orphan living with a peasant family. My mother adopted her and said, "This is a gift for you, Victor." Since then, Elizabeth has been my best friend and the light of my life. And when I was 7 years old, my younger brother Ernest was born. 4 years later, William completed our family. We grew up in simple happiness, playing by the lake and in the shade of the trees. This peace became the foundation of my childhood. In this happiness, I had a best friend named Henry. He always brightened our childhood with stories of adventure and desired to be a hero. We were like 3 parts of one person. Elizabeth was the soul, Henry was the heart, and I was the mind. When I was 15, a violent storm hit our home in countryside. Lightning struck the oak tree on the outside, shattering it into tiny splinters. A friend of my father's, a scientist, revealed how lightning worked. At the time, I had just discovered electricity. That was the beginning of my scientific journey. The lightning was like a sign from the sky, showing me a path that I didn't realize would one day destroy me. When Victor was 17 years old, his mother died after taking care of a sick Elizabeth. Before she died, her mother had told Victor and Elizabeth to get married one day. Victor was devastated, and although he had to leave for university, he stayed a few weeks with Elizabeth. Victor went to Germany to study. Once there, he met Dr. Crimpy, a rude science lecturer who belittles Victor for reading books full of magic. "What a wasted time," he said. "Nobody bothers with those books anymore. You'll have to start your studies all over again." Victor was disappointed, but he didn't let that stop him. He continued his quest for true knowledge. However, Victor met Dr. Waltman at the university. Professor Waltman of chemistry speaks with passion. Rather than criticizing Victor's past, Waltman acknowledged that modern science owes much to the work of ancient scientists. "We wouldn't be here without them. They may have been wrong, but they started it all," he said. He studied hard, and within 2 years, he became a student famous for his discoveries in chemistry. Victor was inspired by Dr. Woltman's words and began to explore the world of chemistry with renewed determination. After a few years at university, he thought about returning to Geneva to visit family and see friends. Something had caught Victor's attention. A new obsession further immersed him in the world of science. He knows that the path he has now chosen will change his life forever.
The wonder of life had always interested Victor. Thinking about where life comes from, he was very curious about the creation of new humans, so he decided to study human biology even though most of his studies were in chemistry. He studied life, which also means studying death, even dissecting the corpses of animals and humans. This became his benchmark, like a flash of light that occurred to him. Victor discovered the secret of life, that he could make something come to life. This became his benchmark, like a flash of light that occurred to him. Victor discovered the secret of life, that he could make something come to life. His mind said that when discovering life, truly creating life, should he start with a simple animal? He tried to make an animal into a human, but that would be too difficult. Driven by his curiosity to create a new monster, he spent a month gathering his materials and preparing to create a new type of human. Victor robbed crabs and dissected the bodies he had stolen. He also stole bones and organs. Victor never informed his family or friends. He ate little, lost weight, and his eyes became sunken. Even though he was suffering physically, he was determined to continue working to create a new human. He did it in a secret room near his university. 1 year had passed, and Victor received a letter from his father expressing concern for him. He didn't have time to reply because of his big project. He was really serious about creating that new man. One dark night in November, he had completed his work by 1 a.m. The rain dented the window, with the candle almost extinguished. As he assembled all the equipment he had activated on his table, he then saw the yellow eyes of the creature open. The creature breathed heavily, its limbs and body trembling. The being that Victor had painstakingly created was truly beautiful. Its body was very tall, not even close to the beauty he had hoped for. Its body looked terrifying, with yellow skin barely covering what lay beneath its yellow eyes and its black, striped lips. This seemed to shatter the hope Victor had worked on for 2 years. Even scavenging sleep to create his creature. Victor was filled with horror and moved away from the monster. Collapsing onto the bed and falling asleep, he dreamed of seeing Elizabeth and thought he was carrying his mother's corpse, invested with worms, in a gown. He woke up in shock. The dim yellow light of the moon entered through the window, and he saw the creature he had created. The creature lifted the blanket, staring straight at Victor. Its appearance was so terrifying that it let out a horrific sound. It tried to speak and reached out its hand to Victor. Victor ran away from the monster and succeeded. He spent the rest of the night in the yard, walking back and forth, filled with confusion about the terrifying creature that had tried to speak to him. When morning arrived, Victor began walking through the town. He had no specific destination, and it was impossible for him to return home. After a while, he saw a postal carriage stop. One carriage arrived, and upon seeing it, he recognized it was from Geneva. When the door opened, he saw Henry step out and look at Victor with a joyful expression. Victor felt happy. Henry looked at him warmly and with concern after seeing Victor's conditions, as if he were ill. Victor kept his work a secret. Suddenly, he and Henry were in front of his house. Victor asked Henry to stay outside while he checked inside for the monster. The monster was gone, and he invited Henry in for breakfast. Victor was so joyful that he couldn't stop laughing. When Henry asked why Victor seemed so depressed, Victor suddenly screamed as if the monster had come for him. Then he collapsed onto the floor, convulsing. Henry took care of Victor, and little by little he recovered. When he was feeling better, Henry informed him that classes would begin. Victor didn't want to go to science class anymore because it reminded him of the monster. For the next 6 months, he attended Henry classes to study history and language.
Victor Frankenstein finally completes the creature he has been working on for months. After assembling the body from various body parts, he uses his knowledge to bring the creature to life. However, when the creature opens its eyes, Victor is horrified by its appearance. Instead of feeling pride, he is overcome with fear and disgust. In a state of panic, he abandons the creature and flees from his laboratory, unable to face what he has created. Victor runs away from the lab, his mind overwhelmed with dread. He cannot bear the sight of the creature and feels an immediate sense of regret and fear for what he has unleashed. His thoughts rise with guilt and horror, and he struggles to escape the consequence of his action. He returns to his room, but the terror of the creature lingers in his mind, preventing him from finding any peace. The emotional and physical toll of his action causes Victor to fall severely ill. His body grows weak, and he spends several days in bed, suffering from nightmares and a deep sense of guilt. His mind is tormented by visions of the creature, and he becomes physically debilitated. Unable to shake off the overwhelming fear, his condition worsens as he isolates himself from everyone around him, unable to confront what he has done. In the midst of his illness, Thor's dear friend, Henry Clerval, arrives to visit him. Clerval, who had been away on a journey, is shocked by Victor's condition. He tends to Victor, providing both physical and emotional support. So Clerval is unaware of the true cause of Victor's distress. His presence offers a brief respite for Victor, who is still haunted by the monster he has created. Clerval encourages him to recover, but Victor remains unable to free himself from his troubled thoughts. Victor begins to recover from his illness with the help of his friend, Henry Clerval. Clerval, who has returned for a journey, is shocked by Victor's frail state and stays with him. Although Victor feels better physically, helping him regain his physical strength, he remains haunted by guilt and fear due to his creation. Victor receives a letter from his fiancée, Elizabeth, expressing concern about his health. The letter brings Victor some comfort, but it also deepens his quiet as he realizes how much time he has spent away from his family and loved ones because of his obsessive studies. Henry continues to support Victor emotionally, encouraging him to go outdoors and engage with life. Victor begins to take short walks with Henry. While his physical health improves, his mind is still troubled by the horrors of the creature he created. Victor hears the tragic news that his younger brother, William, has been murdered. He rushes back home and learns that the creature he created is responsible for William's death. This event further worsens Victor's guilt and deepens his sense of isolation. After William's death, Victor feels increasingly isolated. Although his physical health is improving, he cannot escape the overwhelming guilt and fear. He feels trapped by the consequences of his action and the wake of his creation. Victor realizes the must face the creature and deal with the consequences of his action. However, his fear and uncertainty hold him back. Despite knowing he must take responsibility, he struggles to find the courage to confront the creature.
Encounter with fire. The creature discovers fire, marvels at its warmth and light, but burns himself, symbolizing his innocence and lack of guidance. Rejection by humans. An old man screams and flees when he sees the creature, and townspeople attack him with sticks and stones, reinforcing the creature's loneliness and confusion. Discovery of the Delesi family. The creator finds a small cottage with 3 inhabitants: the blind old man Delesi, a young man Felix, and a young woman Agatha. Observing them from a shack, he learns about human emotions, family, and kindness. Learning language. By secretly watching the family, the creator begins to understand and mimic their language, picking up words like fire and bread. Introduction of Safi. Safi, Felix's love, arrives at the cottage. Felix teaches her to read and write, giving the creature an opportunity to learn as well. Discovery of books and Frankenstein's notebook. The creature finds books and Frankenstein's notes, learning about humanity, history, and its own creation. Resentment and isolation. After reading, the creature feels abandoned and grows resentful of Frankenstein. Attempt to befriend Delesi. The creature musters the courage to approach the blind Delesi. They converse and Delesi shows compassion. Rejection by the family. When Felix, Agatha, and Xavier return, they react with fear and violence, driving the creature away despite its pleas.
The creature continued to observe and see the Delesi family, and one day he approached the family cottage. It turned out that many people wanted to catch him. Then the resident chased the creature, but the creature had already hidden first. Because he was very angry and disappointed, so that night he returned and burned the cottage, and found Frankenstein's notebook, which stated that he was in Geneva, Switzerland. Then, he intended to go there during the trip. He met a little girl who was playing hide and seek, and one of them was injured. He went into the river and saved the creature. Then the girl screamed. Finally, the resident came and shot the creature's shoulder. 2 months later, he arrived in Geneva and met a boy. Then he screamed and said Frankenstein's name. Then the creature got angry and finally strangled the boy. On his night journey, the creature met Victor and vented all his anger and told his sad and sad story. Victor Frankenstein met his creature in the mountain. The creature, who suffered greatly from loneliness and rejection, asked Victor to create a meat for him. He promised that if Victor do so, he will go to a secluded place and not bother humans. The creature expresses his pain and sorrow, emphasizing the need for a friend who can understand him. Victor is distressed by the creature's request. Also, he feels sympathy. He is also afraid of the consequences of creating another creature. In order to find a suitable place for the experiment, Victor decided to travel to England and meet professor in Oxford University. During the journey, he felt anxious and depressed.
trying to convince himself that creating a mate for the creature is the way to end his suffering. Upon arriving in England, Victor searched for a secluded location to conduct the experiment. He begins to prepare the material needed to create the creature mate. However, as he begins to work, doubt and fear began to gnaw at his mind. He remembered all the sadness caused by the creation of the first creature and begins to doubt the decision to create a new creature. Victor eventually decides to stop the creation process and refuse the creature request. He feels angry and afraid of the consequences of creating a mate for the creature. The creator was furious and threatened Victor by saying that if Victor did not fulfill his promise, he would take revenge and make Victor's life miserable. This threat added to Victor's already heavy psychological burden. In desperation, Victor ran away while carrying a sack of body parts that had been prepared for the experiment. He boarded a small boat and went to sea to dispose of the body part. However, while in the middle of the sea, a storm suddenly appeared and rocked his small boat. In the jaws of the storm, Victor was torn from the boat and stranded on the shore. Victor Frankenstein was up on the shore after escaping from the monster he created, weak and confused. The locals see him throwing something into the sea and assume he has left a body. Victor is arrested and taken to the magistrate for interrogation. After an investigation, it is revealed that the body found is that of Henry Clerval, Victor's best friend, who was supposedly killed by the monster. Although Victor is temporarily detained, there is not enough evidence to charge him with murder, and he has eventually released. After he released, Victor is still ill and depressed over Henry's death. His father takes him to Paris for treatment. In Paris, Victor struggled to recover from the trauma and guilt that haunted him. Although surrounded by the beauty of the city and the love of the father, his thoughts continue to focus on the monster who may still threaten his loved ones. After some time, Victor and his father return to Geneva to prepare for Victor's wedding to Elizabeth. They are both excited, although Victor still feels uneasy. The wedding day arrives, and they marry with hope of a happy future. However, Victor still felt anxious and could not fully enjoy the moment. After the wedding, Victor and Elizabeth go on their honeymoon. While in the hotel basement, Victor hears Elizabeth scream. He rushed outside and found Elizabeth died on the bed with finger marks on her neck. Victor was horrified to realize that the monster had killed Elizabeth. When he looked out the window, he saw the monster peeking and watching him, adding to his fear and anger. After Elizabeth died, Victor received news that his father had also died from stress and grief, in a state of severe depression. Victor was hospitalized in the mental hospital for 2 months. After recovering, he told the judge everything that happened, explaining how the monster he created had ruined his life. The judge believed him and intended to help him, but Victor did not want anyone to be hurt because of his invention. With strong determination, Victor vowed to hunt and kill the monster wherever it was, even to the end of the earth and the suffering caused by his creation, to never let the monster hurt anyone again.
The creature greatly observed the Ďeľací family. It showed how they loved each other despite their poverty. They helped one another, shared affection, and supported each other, which made the creature begin to understand the meaning of family and love. The creature started learning human language by listening to the Ďeľací family's conversations. It mimicked their words and began to understand more about human culture and how people interact and express their feelings. The creator saw how difficult life was for the 𝚑𝚎𝚎 family. They were running out of firewood in the winter. Feeling moved, the creator secretly gathered firewood and left it near their house to help them survive. However, the creature realized its appearance was terrifying. It felt alienated and angry at itself and its creator, Victor. Also, it longed to be accepted and loved. It knew it would never have a life like the 𝚑𝚎𝚎 family.
To Mr. Saville, England, September 5, 17. Dear sister, does it make your blood run as cold as it does mine? Sometimes I thought Frankenstein was not strong enough to finish it. His voice often broke. The way he told the story makes it seem real. Yes, I believe the monster lives. Frankenstein saw that I was taking notes while he told his story. Then I asked how he gave life to the monster. He said, "Have you gone mad? Didn't you learn from my tale? Never again will such a creature be made. I will take the script with me to my grave." Victor was very sad because of the monster. He had to live alone. Without the people he loved, he said, "I must hunt and kill the monster. After that, I can die in peace. I cannot make new friends. I cannot love again. I must destroy the monster. Then I will be ready for the darkness of the grave." September, my dear sister, the men have been acting badly. They want a promise from me. I must give up my dream. A few months ago, I would not have agreed to do this. Meanwhile, Frankenstein's health is failing. He grows thicker and thinner each day. He seems alive only when he tells of his hunt for the monster. September 12th. The ice has broken. The men are happy. They know I will keep my promise. They know they are going home. I know we must go back, but I am unhappy that I must forget about my dream. Frankenstein tried to get off the bed. He was too weak. He fell back and passed out. I took for a moment that he had died, but in a few minutes he has opened it again, and it hurt to know that the monster still alive. He had killed William and had caused Justin death. I couldn't know for sure that he would kill again, and if there were a wall raised to test creatures, who will be safe? The monster waited from Victor inside. "Frankenstein, I am sorry. I am sorry for all the misery I caused you, but you can't hear me now." I looked at the monster. I almost felt sorry for it. Then I remembered what Frankenstein had told me. I took of all the life this creature had taken. Being sorry won't help, I said. "Do you think I wanted to be evil?" the monster asked. The monster wanted to give Frankenstein a taste of the unhappiness he had given me. That is why the monster had to kill Henry. The creature looked down at the body of Frankenstein. "Goodbye, my creature," he said. "I made hell of your life, but it was nothing like the hell I had to live through." Saying this, the monster jumped to the open window of the cabin. It landed below on the piece of ice. It was soon carried away by the waves and lost in the darkness.